Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We are here to rank all of the palettes that I tried in 2022. I believe I have 18 palettes. I have 17 sitting in front of me. One of them I did declutter and pass on to a friend, but I have the rest of them here in front of me, and I do have a couple palettes that maybe entered my collection, but they either entered my collection at the end of the year and so I don't feel comfortable reviewing it in this video, or I just haven't had the chance to try it out fully yet. So these are the 18 palettes that I feel confident ranking for you. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Kelly and I love all things makeup and beauty. I love talking, I love makeup, I love talking about makeup. So if you like to chat about makeup too, I would love to have you subscribe and be part of the KBELLA fam. Why don't we go ahead and jump into the video. So in the number 18 spot, this is a palette that I did not like, that I would not recommend, that I do not think is good quality, and sadly it is by Give Beauty, Gwen Stefani's brand. This is the I See in Color Danger Zone palette. Now my husband picked this up for me when he was on spring break in New York, and he asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted to try this out, and looking at it, I thought it would be a fun color story. I thought it would be fun to do a smoky eye. You have a black with some glitters, you have a couple cool toned browns, and this matte shade. I thought this will be great. And then I created an eye look with it. First of all, you cannot see any of the shimmers in this black. It went on matte black, but it was also super patchy. It wasn't very pigmented. I created like a smoky eye look. I went out with some girlfriends, and by the time I was done filming and in my car driving to meet them for dinner, it looked like my eyeshadow had patched and flaked off of my eye. So definitely don't recommend. I'm holding on to it. One, because I don't think it's very good quality, so I don't want to give it to someone, but also my husband did pick it up for me, so it is a little sentimental that way, but I don't think the quality is the best. I'm already dropping palettes everywhere. In the number 17 spot, this is by Nomad Cosmetics. It is the Paradise Islands palette. Now this is solely in the number 17 spot because of the color story. This color story just is not for me. Nomad was kind enough to send this to me. They have a starfish program where you can nominate someone who you feel like is a starfish or creates good in the beauty community. My friend Kara C nominated me. I was sent this beautiful palette. I thought the quality was great. The shimmers were nice. The mattes felt blendable and creamy. It's just not my color story, but I think the artwork is gorgeous. I think the packaging is amazing. I'm going to hold on to it because if I do want to dip into color, we have some color in here. I'm just a neutral girl. So as we get down to the palettes that are closer to the top, you will see a theme here. I'm definitely a neutral girl, and I definitely have a type, and this one just isn't it. In the number 16 spot is this Pat McGrath Bridgerton palette. Now, to be fair, I purchased this at the beginning of 2022, and I haven't really used it a ton since. The reason being is I just feel like this color story isn't really me. I really like these two shades. I think this one is good, so this trio is good, but I don't really reach into these two pink shades. This blue, while it's beautiful, it creates a nice look if you put it on top of a matte. I don't see myself wearing that for a day-to-day. Really, if I were to create a day-to-day look, it would probably be to put this in the crease and then that on the lid, put that in the inner corner. I think the quality is good. It just, again, for me, it's the color story. I don't find myself reaching for it. Anytime I have reached for it, it's because I'm making myself, not because I'm genuinely reaching for it. But I really like Bridgerton, and it's really nice packaging. It's a cute palette. It just wasn't a favorite for me. I think I'm getting the numbers right. I'm probably going to put them on the screen, but in the number 5 place is the palette that I no longer have, and it's by Patrick Ta. It's the Major Dimension 1 palette. Now, I have it written on my list as one that I got in 2022, although I think it released in 2021. Now, this palette, I didn't think it was bad. The color story definitely is much more my color story, but I felt like a lot of the shimmers were very toppery. I thought the cream shades worked well. I thought the mattes were super nice and blendable. And then you had maybe 2 shadows, shimmer shadows, that I felt like packed a punch, but the others were more of a topper shade. There was one weird shade that was kind of like a matte with shimmers in it that I didn't really know how to use. It was with the shimmer shades. And I just found that even though the color story was for me, I just wasn't reaching for it a ton, and for it to be that expensive of a palette, I wanted somebody to use it, so I passed it along. In the number 14 spot is this little mini by Natasha Denona. This is the mini retro palette. I have heard so many people rave about these minis, especially this mini retro right here. I thought the color story looked fun and cute. I picked it up. I just don't feel like it's the same Natasha Denona quality as you get in the middies. And so for that reason, you know, although it's fun, I find that this seems to be more of a topper shade, so you have two beautiful shimmers and two matte shades. I'm just not reaching for it a ton. I mean, I feel like it would be good for a day-to-day. You just throw that in the crease, that on top, that in the crease, that on top, put a little topper on it, but I don't find it to be the best quality out there, and it's just not a favorite. So for me, it's kind of ranking toward the bottom, but I mean, it is a cute little palette, and I wish I loved it more. People rave about it. I just don't find myself reaching for it a ton. Sigma was kind enough to send over their minis for me. You will not see the warm neutrals in this video because I haven't had a chance to try it fully yet, but I have tried the Sigma Enchanted palette, and while I think this is a super fun palette, you have a fun color story, this isn't a color story that I would reach for on a day-to-day basis. I think this Metamorphosis shade is really fun. It is more of like a topper shade, so if you go in with a matte and put a matte all over the lid and put that on top, or even one of these other shimmer shades, lay it on top, it does create a fun shift for you. I do like the Sigma formula. I think that their mattes are super nice and blendable. You do have these beautiful shimmer shades that pack a punch. This one is more of a satin. I really like a satin shade. And like I said, I think the color story is fun. It's just not one that I'm going to reach for often, so that's why it's ranking it toward the bottom. But I do like this palette. I think I'm on number 12. I might stop saying the numbers at this point because I don't want to get it wrong. But this one was not a new palette to 2022, but it was a new palette to me, and it is the Melt Brunette palette. Now, I fully expected to like this palette more than I do because if you look at the color story, it screams Kelly. I just feel like the quality is not the best. Love this color story. I think these shimmers are great. I just feel like I have to work a little bit harder when I'm blending the mattes. I have to go in a few extra times and really spray my brush when I'm working with the shimmers, and I just feel like it doesn't stand out when I use it on my eyes, and so for that reason, I don't find myself reaching for it a ton. I do still like the color story. I'm going to keep it in my collection. I honestly need to play with it more. This would be a great like day-to-day work eyeshadow palette. I just feel like the quality isn't the best. And I've kind of heard that about Melt Cosmetics. You know, I've heard people say some of their eyeshadow palettes are hits and some are misses. I've heard good things about the brunette palette, and I've wanted to try Melt out for myself, but I have to say it didn't blow me away. Then we have the Odens Eye Angelica Nyqvist collab, the Hela palette. I thought this palette is stunning. The artwork is absolutely beautiful. I am a friend of Angie, so I was super excited to be able to support her. I had been wanting to try Odens Eye, and this color story, I feel like it's a great take on color, but safe enough for the neutral lover. So I do really like this palette. Again, it is a little bit more colorful than my taste, so I don't reach for this on a day-to-day, but you can create some nice neutral shades, like if you dip into these, go in with one of these shimmers, or you can stick to the pinks. These shades on the bottom are very nice and deep and beautiful. You have this beautiful shifty shade. I do enjoy the quality of this palette. I think the shades are stunning. It's just one that I don't feel super comfortable with, and for that reason, that's why it's coming in kind of, I would say, midway in the rankings, because I do really like the palette. I'm not going to reach for this color story on my own very often. Then we have the Sigma Cor de Rosa palette. I was super excited to get my hands on this one because I have heard so many good things about this palette. I have heard so many of my friends rave about the Cor de Rosa, say that it's beautiful, the larger palette, but I'm kind of into smaller palettes, and this color story is just absolutely stunning. This one looks unused because it is. So Sigma sent it to me. Again, I did actually purchase the Cor de Rosa myself, and then when Sigma sent me a PR box, they did send me all 4 of their little minis, so this is one of the newer ones. But I really like this. The embossing is beautiful. I really like this matte shade. I like that you have a lighter matte shade, but then you have some deeper matte shades as well. All of the shimmers are stunning. Overall, great quality. Love the color story. This is a fantastic palette, and I would definitely recommend. This palette's coming in the middle of the ranking. It is not a favorite for me, although I know it is a favorite for a lot of people. This is the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. I wanted to love this palette more than I do, because when you look at it, it is absolutely stunning. You have some beautiful shades in there. You have some nice warm toned shades on this side. You have some cooler toned shades on this side. I really do enjoy bold moves. I really wanted to love Manifest. I wanted to love this deep gold shade. I really do enjoy quite courageous here. Overall though, I find that the Huda Beauty formula is not my favorite. I don't find it to perform as well as some of the others. I found this Limitless shade to be very chunky and hard to deal with. I do want to try it again with a glitter primer and see if that sticks on better. I also had a hard time with Manifest. It swatched beautifully, it picked up on my finger beautifully, but trying to put it on my eyes was a little bit more challenging. This Bold Moves shade, it does look more of a champagne shade when you swatch it. I was hoping for more of a silver, but this one does swatch beautifully. I really like this Courageous shade. I created a nice, beautiful look with that, and that was one of the standouts here. The matte shades are great. I don't think that I will ever reach into these gel liners. I get what Huda Beauty was trying to do. She's known for doing things that are different, coming up with different textures and formulas, and I wanted to love this palette. I wanted to love it with my whole heart. I just don't. I think it's still good. I think there are still people who will really enjoy it. It just isn't a favorite for me. I was really excited to see Anastasia Beverly Hills coming out with more eyeshadow palettes again. This year she came out with the Nouveau palette. At first when I looked at it, I thought that's kind of a boring color story. Like, I don't really think it's for me. And then I was watching videos and then I got sucked in. It drew me in, and I really do think it's a great palette. I really love this Wings shade. This Belle shade is very unique. I love Hope. Lily is a beautiful rose gold shade. The mattes are nice. I haven't used Peacock or Muse yet, although they do look beautiful. It's fun to take Wisteria and have something a little bit different. I don't find this to be the same exact quality as some of her other shadows, although a lot of people say it feels the same to them. This one feels less powdery to me. I feel like ABH, if you think about some of the traditional ones like Modern Renaissance or Soft Glam or Sultry, they have more of a powdery texture. This one I feel like I don't get as much kick up, but I do still get kick up. Now, is this going to be a top favorite? It's not, but it is a fun palette and I'm glad to have it in my collection. Okay, I think I have 7 left. I think. So in the number 7 spot, I was really excited for this one. It is again by Nomad Cosmetics, the Hudson Valley palette. This one was also sent to me again in their Starfish program. They asked for people to nominate teachers, and if you don't know, I am a teacher, so I was nominated again. They sent this palette out to me. They asked me which one I wanted, and when this released, I was like, I want your new one. I want your new one. It is absolutely stunning. You have these cool vibes over here. You have these warm vibes over here. You have 3 beautiful shimmer shades. Typically, I wouldn't go for a palette that is so matte heavy because I do love a good shimmer, but I think this is really, really fun. I think the quality is great. I love the 2 looks that I created. They were super, super pigmented, which I love. You don't really have to fuss with it too much. You put it on, bam, you're gonna get some pigmentation, and I feel like this will be great for the fall time. So really love this palette and happy to have it in my collection. The top 6, I would say, are really truly favorites for me, palettes that I love, that I am enjoying, that I'm getting a lot of use out of. And in the number 6 spot is my first Mothership palette. This is the new one that she released in Moonlit Seduction. Very heavy duty. I love the Pat McGrath packaging. It is absolutely stunning. And I really like this color story because I feel like it is unique in my collection. It is not something that you see over and over and over again. You have these 3 fun matte shades. You have some nice shimmer shades, and then you have the special shades here. I do not get as much use out of this as I probably should, but I think it's a beautiful palette. Every time I create a look, I love the looks that I create, and I feel like this is really easy for work because all I have to do is throw like a matte in the crease, pick a shade to put on the lid, and it looks absolutely stunning. Every time I wear it, I am impressed, love the quality, and I just think it's a beautiful palette. We are in the top 5 now, and in the 5th spot is a palette by the brand Adept. Adept was a new brand to me, and they came out with their Amunet new palette, then they reformulated it. This is the reformulated one. This is known to be their more neutral palette. I love Adept Cosmetics since having tried them. I really feel like it's their shimmers for me. They have these beautiful multi-chrome shades. I don't know if you can see the shifts in the mirror there. They're absolutely stunning. I don't have anything like it in my collection. Every time I create looks with this eyeshadow palette, I just love the looks. I feel like the mattes they're nice, but they're not the standout. They're good quality, but they're not the best. But I can throw any of these mattes in the crease, throw on a beautiful shimmer shade. The shimmer is going to be the star of the show, and I really love this one. In the number 4th spot, the number 4th in the number 4 spot, it is not a palette that is new this year in last year in 2022, but it's new to me, and it is the ABH Soft Glam palette. I finally got my hands on this palette here, and I don't know what took me so long. I do not know what took me so long. This is definitely a Kelly color story. It's definitely the formula that I'm familiar with, that I love. You have some fan favorites in Dusty Rose, Tempera, Orange Soda, Burnt Orange, Sienna. Love the shimmer shades. So far I've created several looks with it, and I've loved every single one, and I can see this being a staple in my collection. Number 3 might surprise you just because of my type, my neutral type of eyeshadows, but this is the palette that really started my love for Adept and kind of brought me out of my comfort zone, and it is the collab with my friend Heather Austin. This palette is absolutely beautiful. You look at it, it's not a Kelly color story whatsoever, but I find myself wanting to reach for it time and time again because of the shimmers. They are so impactful. You have these beautiful duochrome shades. They're nice and shifty. I just create beautiful looks every time I dip into it. I can throw one of the matte shades in the crease, go in with any one of the shimmers, and it's just absolutely stunning. I have fun with this palette. Like I said, it takes me out of my comfort zone. It makes me do things that are more creative, and every time I play with it, it's just so fun. So that's why it's in the number 3 spot. In the number 2 spot, I finally got to try out Lunar Beauty when Manny came out with his Nude Prism palette. I had been waiting for him to come out with a palette that I felt like was screaming my name, and this one really did it for me. This is my vibe. This is my color story. You have 2 beautiful rows of mattes. You have some lighter mattes and deeper mattes. Then you have this beautiful row of shimmers in the middle. So I feel like any of these can be a transition shade. Any of these can go in the outer corner to deepen up. Any of these can go on the lid. I reach for this time and time again. It's easy. It's go-to. Even though it's a larger palette, I don't have to think about it. I'm not a makeup artist. Oftentimes, if I have a large palette like this, I'm kind of trying to think like, what do I do? What can I pair together? I don't have to with this one. It's easy for me. It's easy to pair looks together. The shimmers are just absolutely stunning and amazing. The quality is great, and this is definitely going to be a staple in my collection for years to come. You may not be surprised by my number 1 pick, but I have been very vocal about the fact that Natasha Denona makes some of my absolute favorite eyeshadows of all time. The quality is impeccable, and Natasha came out with her My Dream palette this year, and it absolutely knocked my socks off. I love it so much. It's the same great formula. You have wonderful cream to matte shades. You can do anything from like taupey neutral shades to champagne. You have this super fun duochrome shift here. Can you see it in the mirror? I think you can see it in the mirror there. It looks purple here and green up there. You have this fun neutral shade, a bright orange. I just love the looks that I create every time I play with this palette. This is a palette where I reach for it so often that sometimes I have to tell myself, like, put it to the side. Use a different palette. You don't have to use this one again. But I love the formula. I love Natasha Denona. I love this palette. I love this color story. I love it. What can I say? I love it. But that is it for this ranking. I mean, catch me on another day and I might put them in a different order. I don't take it too seriously. I just kind of threw the palettes in front of me and let them fall where they may. But those were the 18 eyeshadow palettes that I tried this year in 2022. If you caught my like low buy no buy video, I think that video went up first, then you know that I'm trying to limit my eyeshadow palettes to just 12 this year. We will see what I can do, but then I will rank those 12 for you as well. Also, I do have some palettes, like I said, that I got at the end of the new year that I haven't ranked yet, so I will put them on my list to rank in 2023 as well, even though I got them in 2022. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Have you tried any of these? What do you think? What were your top 3 palettes of the year? I would love to know. Otherwise, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.